Good day, everybody. So, the title of this video is simply going to be Iran and nuclear weapons. And we have a very good view of the Google Maps of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Very, very large nation, extending from Pakistan and Afghanistan in the east, all the way to Iraq and the environs. So the big issue right now, today we saw reports of multiple B-52s taking off from the state of Louisiana and flying all the way to the Persian Gulf area of operations. For the life of me, I don't know why we're doing that. There are ways to attack targets inside of Iran that would not necessitate the use of B-52s flying from the mainland United States of America. I couldn't even imagine those pilots. I mean, basically transversing the world. But again, there's other ways to target some of these facilities that the West feels, and the Mideast as well, feels as threatening in terms of giving Iran the ability to create nuclear weapons. But what ultimately is going to happen? Well, one of two things is going to absolutely happen, and it could happen in a couple of weeks. It could take longer. But first, is Iran is going to acquire a nuclear capability. And that definitely is something Israel does not want to hear, but it's going to happen if something is not done. And then the question is, if something is done, what does that lead to? So we've seen, and we have other states in the neighborhood that has acquired nuclear weapons. Obviously, Pakistan, India, North Korea. Probably North Korea would resemble. Well, I don't want to say it resembles Iran, but in terms of the general outlook by the West, I would say North Korea and Iran kind of fall into the same category. Again, different, completely different. I don't even know why I said that, but obviously they are. The other alternative is to either launch a serious military campaign to remove the ability of Iran to create nuclear weapons. And I'm not sure that would completely eliminate Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons. Iran may be much closer to having a nuclear weapon than many people even realize. So even given if there is a strike, it may not eliminate the fact that Iran could have a nuclear weapon. But those are the two choices. Either the world lives with the fact that Iran has a nuclear weapon, or does something significantly to stop it from having a nuclear weapon. And that would most likely mean some sort of regime change in the system that runs Iran. And the current leadership in Iran is the mullahs are are getting up there in age, but I'm sure they have replacement mullahs ready to step in and continue to govern the country, either more conservatively or maybe a little less. But I think ultimately the goal is to obtain a nuclear weapon. So, what happens then? Does the world end? I don't think so. I really don't. I think, um, again, you have to look at the mullahs, the old mullahs. Well, they became elderly for a reason because they like to live and they're not looking to martyr themselves. So when you have old mullahs, um, they tend to want to exist, and that's just a fact. And if Iran were to ever try and use a nuclear weapon against Israel or anyone else, um, it would be, I mean, the United States would turn Iran into glass, and all those mullahs would die. And I don't think the mullahs want to do that. So I think possibly, we're getting a little too ratchety about Iran possessing nuclear weapons, and it's probably going to happen. If that happens, then what? How do you deal with them? How do you live with them? Because you're going to have to. They have a great deal of influence. They have a great deal of influence in Afghanistan, massive amount of influence in Iraq, massive amount of influence in Syria, massive amount of influence in Lebanon. So if you want to change that status quo, it's going to mean a significant military engagement and to change the regime in total inside of Iran. And I don't think the world at this point, and you have to say the world because it would affect the world globally, has the stomach to do that. So I think the end game is kind of where we're at now. Either try to work with them and just kind of accept the fact that they're going to get a nuclear weapon at some point. We may not know about it. It may exist kind of under the radar and secrecy, kind of like the South African program. I mean, we know the South Africans uh, had nuclear weapons. The South African apartheid government that existed prior to 1991, but it was just not very well known about. It's highly probable that the Netherlands has nuclear weapons, but again, it's just something that is not talked about. The next country that could obtain nuclear weapons is probably Turkey. We could see Turkey having nuclear weapons sooner rather than later. We could see Japan or South Korea with nuclear weapons. So, I mean, the genie is out of the bottle. The toothpaste has left the tube, and it's just as a world, as a society, they're going to be omnipresent, or they're going to be used at some point in the future. Oh yeah, probably. There's never been a weapon system on the planet that hasn't been used, and at some point, unfortunately, they will probably be used again.